Tunku Abdul Rahman was the founder of the modern state of Malaysia. He negotiated Malaysian independence from the British Empire and served as the first Prime Minister of the country. He was born in the year 1903 in the royal family of the Kedah Sultanate, which was one of the Muslim states that ruled Malaysia before the arrival of the British. Therefore, Tunku Abdul Rahman had a deep desire to free his land from the shackles of British colonialism. During his upbringing, he noticed that British rule had dramatically changed the demographics of the region, as the British had brought thousands of workers from their colonies in India and Hong Kong to settle in Malaysia. Therefore, Malaysia became a mix of Malay, Indian, and Chinese population. This foreign labor allowed the British to exploit the Malay economy more effectively and extract natural resources more quickly. The British also believed that bringing workers from other countries to Malaysia would weaken and divide Malaysian society, which would then be unable to resist British rule. However, in 1952, shortly after completing his education at the University of Cambridge, Tunku Abdul Rahman returned to Malaysia and formed his own political party known as the Alliance Party, which consisted of influential Malay, Indian, and Chinese activists. Tunku Abdul Rahman called for independence from British rule and the creation of a Malaysian state that represented all three groups. However, Abdul Rahman's fight for a unified and independent Malaysia was interrupted by a communist rebellion against the British government of Malaysia, which was led by members of the Chinese community in Malaysia and funded by Communist China. Eventually, by the late 1950s, the communist rebels began to fade away as they began to lose support among the local population, who were victims of their brutality. Tunku Abdul Rahman, who was the most influential Malay leader during this period, called on the Malaysian Communist Party to join the political process as long as they laid down their arms. He refused to marginalize the communists as he did not want to isolate the Chinese community in Malaysia. Once the communist rebellion had ended, Tunku Abdul Rahman and his alliance of Malay, Indian, and Chinese activists began negotiations with the British for Malaysian independence, and in 1957 the British recognized Malaysian independence. Tunku Abdul Rahman was elected as the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, and he managed to build the foundations for a successful state. He declared Malay as the official language of Malaysia and declared Islam as the official religion of the state. Tunku Abdul Rahman also established the Islamic Religious Welfare Organization, which was created for the purpose of preaching Islam and helping Muslim converts adapt to a new way of life. Through this organization, thousands of Chinese Malaysians converted to Islam and national unity was strengthened. During his time as Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman also promoted economic development and constructed new roads, factories, and hospitals across Malaysia. Apart from developing the economy of Malaysia, he also contributed to economic growth in the wider Southeast Asian region, and he established the Association of Southeast Asian Nations for the purpose of increasing economic cooperation between Southeast Asian countries. Prime Minister Abdul Rahman also opened Malaysia's doors to hundreds of Cambodian refugees who were escaping from persecution at the hands of the communist Khmer Rouge. Tunku Abdul Rahman also created close relations with Muslim countries such as Saudi Arabia. He met with King Faisal of Saudi Arabia and made Malaysia a member of the Organization for Islamic Cooperation. In 1961, Tunku Abdul Rahman hosted the first international Quran recitation competition in Malaysia, which was attended by Muslims from all around the world. He also constructed many mosques such as the National Mosque of Malaysia and invited the great Egyptian Quran reciter known as Abdul Basit to its grand opening. Prime Minister Abdul Rahman established foreign relations with many other Muslim countries such as Indonesia, Pakistan, Iran, and Syria, and he refused to establish relations with Israel. In 1957, Israeli Prime Minister Moshe Sharett visited Kuala Lumpur in order to try and establish relations with the newly formed Malaysian state. However, Prime Minister Abdul Rahman refused to establish relations and refused to recognize the State of Israel, as it was against his Islamic principles. Tunku Abdul Rahman passed away in December 1990, and he is remembered by Malaysians as the father of Malaysian independence.